Hey, this is Kevin, and this is part 3 of my Ruger American Pistol review. And this is the part where I show the external and operational features. And if you go to my website, consumerreports.com, what you'll see is there's actually a web page version of this review here, where I show all the photos associated with the pistol, and I give a lot of the commentary. And as you go through the photos, if you click on any photo, then what will happen is it'll bring up a high resolution image, allowing you to see even more detail. Also, in this part of the review, I have let's see here, about I don't know, about 51 photos in there, and I cover everything in detail. You know, if you've watched any of my other reviews or taken a look online, you know I probably overcovered detail, but I'd rather provide more than less. Now, for a quick recap, when you purchase the pistol, it basically comes in a hard case. It comes with 2 magazines here, 17-round magazines, and it's got 3 grip modules, 2 that are in the case right here, and 1 that's actually on the pistol. It also comes with a wrench here for securing the grip modules, and then it also has owner's manual and gun lock. For starters, the Ruger American pistol is what I'd call a duty or a full-size pistol. This particular version is a 9mm, and it's got the black glass-filled nylon polymer grip. It's got a stainless steel slide here, but the slide has a black nitride finish on it, which gives it a really nice look. You can also see that it's got a stainless steel barrel here. The pistol measured 7.5 inches in overall length, and it was 1.41 inches right here across the slide stops. And this particular barrel length measured 4.16 inches, and the spec says 4.2. The pistol also measured 5.6 inches in height from the bottom of the magazine to the top of the sights. When I put it on the scale, this pistol weighed in at 30.8 ounces empty and 38.1 ounces with 18 rounds of the Hornady American Gunner 115 grain ammunition. The overall weight, in my mind, is on the high end for this size handgun. I went and compared it against 5 other handguns, like the Springfield XDM, the Sig Sauer SP 2022 Glock 17, the Smith & Wesson M&P Pro Series, and the Ruger SR9. And you can see here that the American pistol right here is coming in, you know, at about 30 ounces, and the lightest one being the Glock's coming in at about 25 ounces. So it's a little bit heavier than all those. I wouldn't say that it's overly significant for those guys who are counting ounces. It's definitely heavier. You know, one of the things that you might want to consider is that when Ruger created this particular pistol, they wanted to ensure that it could sustain plus P ammunition, a significant amount of it. So, you know, when you go through and actually start looking at the barrel profile is significantly thicker than that of the Ruger SR9, which ended up coming in at about 27 ounces. Now, some of the markings that you can see here, you got the Ruger name milled into the slide there. You've got, you know, Ruger's standard comment here: read instruction manual before using firearm. Back here, you're going to see that they've got some white lettering here that says "Gun will fire with magazine removed." On the opposite side over here, you can see again on the slide they've got Ruger that's milled into the slide here, and Ruger American pistol, Ruger, Prescott, Arizona, USA. And I want to show here, you can see that the barrel is marked right here with the 9mm Luger, and there is a proof mark that's on the edge of the barrel right down in there. The pistol comes with a set of Novak 3-dot sights, which you can see here. And you know, for those that are a big fan of the Novak style sights, I think you'll be very happy with these sights. You know, for those who prefer a more vertical rear sight, so that you can go through and potentially rack the slide off of your belt or your boot, you know, this handgun doesn't come with that. But Ruger does offer other aftermarket sights already at their shopruger.com website. Now, me personally, I am a fan of this white 3-dot sight configuration here. The front sight is dovetailed in place, but it is not adjustable. The rear sight sits in a dovetail also. It's got a set screw, which is right here on top. And you can actually drift the rear sight to adjust for windage if needed. There is no elevation adjustment built into these sights. Overall, I think Ruger did a pretty nice job with the styling on the handgun. You know, and I'm going to just try to point out some of the details here real quick. Obviously, you can see they've got a Picatinny rail up here in the front. It's a 4-slot rail. You know, and it's not what I would call a modified rail like they have on their SR9, which basically has a groove on each side and one slot. This configuration right here allows you to actually install some lower profile sights that would end up picking up you know, these slots closer into the trigger guard. You can see how they styled the cutout here going up into the barrel. Or up into the slide area right here to match, which I think was a good move. It kind of gives it a stylish look. They also put a taper on the front of the slide, you can see right there, to allow, you know, a more ease in holstering the handgun. You know, as you come further back down the slide here, you know, you can see at the rear they've got, and I don't know how well it's going to come out, but they've got kind of like a diamond pattern that you can see, and it's basically they had a set of grooves going in this direction here, and then they actually went through at a different level and put the grooves in the other direction, which gave this raised diamond look right here. Which to me, it gives it, you know, it gives it a good texture. You know, it's not overly aggressive. You know, like some slides actually have some serrations that I think are extremely aggressive. If I were to really, you know, say, you know, what the level of aggressive texture would be, I'd say it would probably be, you know, medium or above medium aggressiveness as far as the texture goes there. You can see on this side of the handgun, it's got the same cutout right there. There's some other shapes here in the slide would have to do with takedown, and also locking the slide back. The polymer frame here also has got some features that are molded into it, and you can see there's a little feature right here that's around the takedown pin, or this end of the takedown pin. You can also see molded into the frame here around the slide stop lever on the right side. There's an area kind of protecting that. You know, you can notice here that it does have an ambidextrous slide stop and magazine release on both sides, and you can see that, you know, you can use it either way. Now, after your last shot, when the slide comes to the rear and the magazine's installed, after your last shot, it's actually going to lock the slide open. And the slide stop right here can actually be, you know, you can drop the slide just by using your thumb here, okay, with that side right there. Pull it back again and let it lock in place, and I'll do it again. And it's really relatively easy to do on that side. Now, when you turn and you do it with my left hand, what I want to point out is that I can't put enough force on that slide stop to drop the slide with my left hand while the magazine is installed. Okay, I think what's happening is that the extra force of the magazine spring here pushing up over there, and the flex that you get within this, I don't know if you can see here, the flex that you get there is not allowing you to drop the slide using your left hand and using this slide stop. If I go through and remove the magazine, okay, like that, you can see I can drop it, but it's just hard to drop with that hand, or maybe I've got a weaker thumb on that side. We'll try it again. Okay, that was a little bit better. One more time. You know, now I'm going to go through and put in a magazine that's actually got some rounds loaded into it. Pull the slide to the rear, and so what you're going to see is that you know just like when you didn't have a magazine installed, you can drop it with the with your left hand, but it does take a little bit more force than the right hand, and you do get that same feel that you're getting some flex within the mechanism. All right, I'm going to drop it one more time with my my left hand. Okay, now what I want to show here, and you're going to have to look very carefully, but this is one of the things that I don't know if you call it an issue or just an idiosyncrasy of this particular handgun. But if there's a round in the chamber and you're going to unload your handgun, as you pull the slide back, what I want to point out is at that point right there, I don't know if you can see, but the end of the bullet is actually hitting on the rear lugs that stick out right here on the bottom of those lugs. It's hitting right there. So if for some reason you're unloading your handgun and you pull it to the rear and you're like, oh, I think it's far enough and nothing fell out, then I think you're going to have to be careful, because you may not have pulled it back far enough. Let's do that again. Put one in there. I'll take the mag out. I'm going to pull it to right there, and it actually feels like it kind of feels like it's a hard stop. Now, if you pull it harder, clearly it's going to go ahead and eject that round. But I think that's something that you just have to be careful and observant of when you're unloading the handgun. Now, unlike the SR9 series or SR series, the loaded chamber indicator is really just a port that you see right here in the top of the barrel. The SR series actually had a big chamber lever that popped up that gave you a very tactile feeling, but for this particular handgun it doesn't have that. This has a very simple viewing port as far as the loaded chamber indicator goes. Right now there's nothing in the chamber. Okay, so now I think you can see in here the edge of the brass case right down in there. Now what I do want to point out is that when the chamber is loaded, if you don't have gloves, you can actually feel that the extractor is sticking out just a little bit right there. So it does give you some tactile feel that the chamber's loaded, but I think you'd have a hard time being able to feel that if you had gloves on. When it's in its unloaded state, the extractor actually is in that area right there, is slightly inside the frame. Now, something I want to point out here is that the extractor here actually has a pin which goes in right here at this location right here. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's a very slight lip on that pin that's right there. And what I've been noticing is that that pin will come up to that point right there, and it actually can be pushed down further. And I'm going to go ahead and push it down further right now. And you can see it just went down just a very small amount. And this is one of those things to where, to me, it's just going to be a watch item. I've had it to the range a couple of times already. It's never backed out more than the amount that I just got through showing you a second ago. But it is something that I'm just going to keep an eye on to make sure that pin never backs out. I'm hoping that you can see here is that unlike the the other SR handguns, for Ruger, that it had the serial number on a plate on the side of the grip, serial number for this particular handgun is actually here in the back, right here. And later on when I do a disassembly, what they've got here is actually a chassis here that's a one-piece chassis or insert, that goes all the way down here to the front. And that's the serialized part of the handgun. And this chassis or this insert right here, you can actually remove from the handgun. Now, Ruger advertises this gun as having a recoil-reducing barrel cam and a low mass slide and low center of gravity and low bore axis. And I went through and actually compared. I took the barrel out of this and took the barrel out of my SR9, and clearly there's some differences in the slot at the bottom of the barrel, which would indicate that there are differences in the camming action of the barrel. It also talks about this having a low mass slide, and to kind of wrap my head around that, I measured the weight of this slide, and I measured the weight of the slide on my Ruger SR9. The American Pistol slide actually came in at about 0.2 ounces heavier than the SR9, so I'm really not sure exactly what Ruger was comparing to when they were claiming this as a low mass slide, because it is slightly heavier than the SR9. They also talk about having a low center of gravity and a low bore axis, and as I compared we'll say the center of gravity of the gun and then the bore axis, and I had to do it from a field perspective as far as center of gravity went, and then I could put this gun against my SR9 and look at the profiles, and I really didn't feel there was very much difference at all, which I think might speak favorably for the SR9, which I'm a fan of the SR9. I've really enjoyed that pistol, and I've got a couple the SR9 in the compact version and the 45 version, and I've enjoyed them over the years, and I think they shoot good. I've already had this gun to the range, and I think it also shoots good, but I think they're very comparable as far as the bore axis goes, and the feel of the gun. Now, what I do want to point out is that here at the rear of the trigger guard, you've got this uppercut right here, and you've got we'll say this beaver tail area back here, and it does allow you, to get your hand up high on the handgun, which to me, it feels good. The rear of the handgun, or the rear portion right here, actually I think is getting a lot of criticism on the internet, and I can't dispute what people think or feel or how it looks. To me, I do think it looks boxy back here. I think that in this area right here, I think it would have been nicer if instead of having this kind of edged look right here, if Ruger would have rounded that a little bit more, I think it would have looked better, and I think it would have given it a slightly better feel. For me and how I grip a handgun here, some people have complained that that this edge right here is actually digging into their knuckle, or is digging into their skin right there. I've put several hundreds of rounds through it, and I've never had that case. But some of that may be because of just the width of the crotch between my thumb and my finger there. Maybe I've got a wider area, and it just fits my hand better. I think some people have noticed that, and some people haven't. And that's one of the things that, as I do my range testing and I let other people shoot it, that I'm going to try to get a better feel for what their opinion is on that particular area. Again, for me, it kind of reminds me of a Volvo, boxy but good. But, I wish that there was a little bit smoother edge, on each side right there, and I think that would have been a little bit better. When you take a look at the front here of the handgun, you can see, first of all, that the barrel actually seems to sit a little bit low in the hole in the end of the slide. I'm not saying that's an issue. That's just an observation. The barrel itself, it's like, there's hardly any free play at all. There is a little bit, but there's hardly any at all. And it's better than some other guns on, and it's not as good as some, but it's not too bad. The end of the guide rod has actually got a hex on the end of that, and it is a steel guide rod. You can see the profile of the barrel here, and it actually is a very thick barrel, and the outside diameter measures 0.586 inches. The barrel actually comes, it's a 6-groove 1 in 10 right hand twist. I'm not sure how well that's showing up here, but what you can see in there is that there's actually a fixed ejector right here, and the extractor actually here has got a very, very wide surface here on the extractor. If you kind of flip it around in this direction here, what you're going to see is that the feed ramp coming into the barrel right here, or the chamber area, has a nice polished surface on it. The round that you see in there is the Hornady American Gunner 115 grain, and you can see inside the magazine right there that it sits high, to be able to feed into the chamber. Now, here on the left side, you can see you got the takedown lever, and it's already unloaded and the magazine's out. So takedown, I'll just show you real quick. It's very simple. You just lock the slide open, you flip the lever all the way around, you drop the slide, and it'll just slide off the end of the handgun like that, and then you can just disassemble it from there. In part 4, I'll actually go over all the details of disassembly, which there's not a lot. I mean, it's not overly complicated, but I'll go over the details of disassembly, reassembly, kind of show you the insert a little bit more that's inside the frame, and let's take a look at some of the internal features. Now, I haven't covered this really in great detail yet, so I'll go ahead and touch on it right now. Is that Ruger's really referring to this handgun as a pro duty handgun, and in my mind, the way I interpret that is that basically this handgun has very few safety features on the handgun, like you might expect in a pro duty or a law enforcement or military style handgun. You can see that there's no manual safety here. I've already pointed out that they clearly state here on the side of the slide right here, gun will fire with magazine removed. There is a trigger safety right here where you can see, which is very standard for today's guns, and it does have a striker block that's inside the mechanisms here. It's not the same style blocking mechanism that you might see on some other handguns or similar to the SR9, but they do have that feature embedded here within the mechanisms. Now the trigger here and the trigger safety that are on the inside right here are made out of some type of steel material, which I think was a very good move. It gets away from the polymer trigger and just gives a more of a rugged feel with less flex. You can also see on the back of the trigger guard right here, there's an over travel stop that's actually molded into the trigger guard. I measured the trigger pull on this handgun with a digital trigger pull scale, and it came in right at 6.2 pounds based on an average of 5 pulls. The trigger here, and I'll kind of go through and show you here. As you pull the trigger, you're going to end up with some original take up, we'll say to that point right there. And at that point, you really hit a much firmer location. And then I'll go ahead and continue to squeeze until it breaks. I'm trying to do it slowly so you can see the movement. And then it broke right there. Now, I'll go ahead and then back it off until you can see the reset point. And there's the reset point right there. Overall, the trigger pull, the trigger pull is relatively short. Okay, it has a little bit of creep, you can say, right through there, and then it seems to break crisp and very little over travel at all because of the stop. Reset, to me, I think, relatively speaking, it's got a long reset when you look at how overall short the trigger pull is. Now at the Ruger website, they've got this this graphic that you can see here, and I don't know what brands were X, Y, and Z, but you can see that these brands here overall have a longer trigger pull that's going to be about, we'll say, around 0.4 inches, somewhere in that range, and the overall travel for the Ruger American pistol is you can see it's a little over, we'll say, about 0.23 or something like that. But you can see here graphically the difference in the trigger pull between these two, and based on the measurements of what I measured as far as distance goes and pull weight, I think my numbers were right in line with what Ruger's advertising there. So far, I really haven't talked about it, and it's the grip area that I'm going to really cover right now. And the grip, Ruger sends this handgun with actually 3 grip modules, and what I've got installed right now, I'm pretty sure, is the large module. And for me, what I found is that when I was at the range shooting, it just seemed like for my hand size and finger length, I've got long fingers, but I've got basically a medium size, the palm of my hand, but it just seemed like that large grip fit better and felt better, and it just put my finger at a better location for actually pulling the trigger. The styling, and I'll show you the modules in just a second, but you can see the back of the grip has got that same, it's got a diamond pattern right here, which is very similar to the diamond pattern that you can see up here as far as the serrations on the slide go. If I kind of turn it around to the front, what you're going to see, there's also a diamond pattern here on the front. So as far as texturing goes, it's a polymer handgun. So you got that same polymer slick feel like you would normally have. You got some very light texturing that's on the side panel that you can see right here. You got Ruger's name and logo. But on the front of the grip and the rear of the grip, you got some pretty good textured areas, and they actually, as far as gripping, I think you can really get a good grip on the handgun with those areas. Now, here in the back, what I want to point out is that there's a hole in the back for putting in the number 10 Torx wrench to basically turn that screw a quarter of a turn. You can see that's locking the grip, that's unlocking the grip, about a quarter of a turn. So I've unlocked it right now, and I'm going to pull the grip off in just a second. But I also want to point out here in the back here is that Ruger also included a lanyard loop location right here. Now, as far as removing the grip module, according to their manual, you're supposed to slide it directly in this direction right here before you lift it off. Okay, and I know for a fact, because I've already done this several times, this large grip is a lot harder to get off than the other ones, and you're not really supposed to squeeze the sides because that should make it harder. So what I found to slide it off is if I grab the grip like that and then kind of like twist my hands or pull my fingers back, it will cause the grip to slide back like it's supposed to. Okay, so you can see it just did. Now from there, when it's in that back position, you can just lift it off. Now what I want to show you here is that it's hard to tell, but you can see there's an arrow right here, there's a line which is right there, and then there's another arrow. And really what they're saying is that when you're installing the grip, you install it and you basically bring and make that line and the profile of the grip match up. Then you push it all the way down, and then you can slide it all the way forward or all the way up until it clicks. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this one back off. Alright, so that's the large grip. I'm going to go over here and grab one of these other ones. Let's see here. This one is So this is the small grip. Now, it comes very, very lubricated with some kind of clear grease right here in this area. And what I want to show you is that the pin which locks the grip in place, when you turn this, we'll say that quarter turn, which is really a little bit more than a quarter, but that's close enough, that pin is actually coming in and out. So when you lock it, you're actually, bringing that pin out. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put the small grip on, and you can see here on the inside that when I line everything up, something's going to go under. It's going to go here in this area, then it's going to nest up under those two ledges on the grip there. So I'm going to put this one in place, put it down, and then slide it up in place. And at this point right here, if I wanted to lock it in place, I'd go through and just turn that a quarter of a turn. And you can see that the small grip is really small in my opinion, which honestly I think it gives it makes it more versatile for for the people who might be interested or like to handle this particular gun. That small grip size right there I think would be very suitable for people with small hands. Now I'll go ahead and take the small grip off. I'll unlock it first, which I'll slide that in, quarter of a turn, grab it like that, slide it back a little bit, take it off, and then I'll go and put the medium grip insert on. Now, when you purchase the handgun, push it up in place. When you purchase the handgun, it's actually going to come with the medium installed. Typically the medium style grip for me, if there's an option as far as grips go, or what I prefer on the handgun, but for this particular one, I think I prefer the large grip module more. Now I want to go ahead and point out a little bit. It's like the mold that Ruger produced for the grip frame. They included a lot of really subtle details, and you can see here that behind the magazine release right there, there's an area that's molded in that's actually raised to I guess to kind of protect your thumb from potentially hitting the magazine release by accident, or to allow it to where the magazine release, it just didn't have the feel for sticking out so far. And I don't know if it's coming out on the video, but you can kind of see that. Another very subtle detail is that they put back here behind the slide stop here, there's just another little molded detail that they put in that area. Right above the magazine release, you can see also they put some tapering, and they smoothed that area right there, for you to put your finger around on that side, or if you want your thumb to sit in that area. But they put a lot of thought behind the mold itself for what they wanted the final handgun to look like as far as those subtle details go. Now the gun comes with two 17-round magazines here, and you can see that they've got the holes on each side, and they're marked so that this one's actually loaded. So you can see, in this case right here, this is loaded to a full 17 rounds, and they're nickel Teflon coated, and they really have got a good feel when they slide up into the handgun. There's really no taper here to speak of. There's a little bit of a taper here in the front, but there's really no taper for inserting the magazine in this area right here on the grip. But the magazine itself, to me, has got a pretty good taper on each side, which allows it to insert easily. When it inserts, it has a very positive click. One of the things that I've noticed here, and if I compare it against some of my other pistols, there ends up being a slightly larger gap. I don't know if you can see it right there, between the base plate here on the magazine and the bottom of the grip. It would have been nice if it was a little bit closer as far as that gap went. It's not a big deal. You know, I've had no functional issues at all, but I would have liked to have seen that to be just a little bit tighter, to be about like that whenever the mag was installed. All right, just to give you a real quick recap of everything I've just got through saying, like I really need to say it again. But, you know, overall, I think personally the pistol looks good. It's got a good feel. You know, I think they could have styled it a little bit better here at the rear as far as the edge goes. But I've had no issue with shooting it for my particular grip and my hand size. The trigger pull feels good. It came in at just a hair over 6 pounds, and overall the trigger pull is short. Take up is a little longer than I would have expected, considering how short the trigger pull is. This particular handgun really only has this trigger safety and the internal striker block there. It's a Pro Duty. It 3-dot Novak sights. Weighs about 30 ounces. Unloaded, and comes with 2 17-round magazines and grip modules, 3 grip modules. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I've got a very positive impression of this particular handgun, and I think, you know, if you went to the store and took a close look at it, I think you would probably have a very similar impression. Some of the styling in here, you know, people, you know, styling really is a big opinion thing, and some people would look at this gun and go, oh, it looks great, and some would go, oh, I hate it. You know, for me, I think it looks good. I think Ruger did a really nice job in introducing this platform, and I'm hoping that it's popular and people like it, and then they will continue to evolve it. Well, I hope the video wasn't too long, yeah, you know, as always, thanks for watching, and if you like the video, please like or subscribe or both, and you know, make sure that you check out my website, GunsumerReports.com, and other videos, and I'll try to bring you more detailed videos in the future. Thanks.